Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. Hope you've had an absolutely sensational week wherever you are in this planet of ours and you enjoyed Valentine's Day, whether you were with that someone special or you just enjoyed being with yourself. And sometimes that's okay too. We don't always have to have that special someone in our lives. We can treat ourselves in a very special way. Look, there's been lots of tragedies around the world with plane crashes and floods and fires and everything like that. Look, our heart goes out to each and every person that might have been affected by some tragedy in the last last week and even in the last 12 months. I mean, it's a really difficult time when you're trying to struggle and come back from some sort of personal tragedy or something that's affected you. It takes time to heal. And I think that's the important message for 2025 is that we can stop, look and listen and sort of take a breath and try and sort of heal ourselves from some of the traumas and some of the events of the past. I think we're sort of in such a busy society that we try and sort of rush through things. We don't give ourselves the time to stop and say, hang on a minute, I'm not okay. I'm hurting, I'm in pain of some kind, and allowing yourself that time to sort of regroup and sort of just re-energize yourself on the mind, body and the soul. So this week's Simply Tarot card of the week is the Knight of Swords. Now, the Knight of Swords is one of those fairly ambiguous sort of cards for the simple reason it does represent a young man up to the age of 25. Now, I want to be very clear. It doesn't matter how old your children are. When you're a mum or you're a dad, you always see them as children, and they will always come out in your tarot readings as the knight or the page. It doesn't matter whether they're 15 or 85. They're still going to come out as your children, and you're going to see them as children, as young people, regardless of their age. So I just wanted to clarify that. So young man up to the age of 25, the secondary meaning, which is mostly what comes out in a reading for most of us if we're not talking about our children or a young person, is a speedy situation or a finish. Now you can see on the card here, the knight is, all dressed up, ready in battle armor and all that sort of things, sword high in the air, charging forward. So he's charging forward to bring some situations or things in his life to a conclusion. And that's not a bad thing. It's actually quite a positive card because for many of us, we are trying to bring things to a conclusion at the moment. And, maybe it might be a conclusion of some of the emotional issues or things that have been going on in our lives for some time that we need to, sort of finally sort of say, okay, enough time has passed now. I can function and move forward and I can put a positive smile on my dial and be able to sort of take the reins to my life again. So it has many different meanings for many different people. So don't just get bogged down on, I don't know any young people up to 25. It may always be then the secondary meaning of the speedy situation or the situation coming to a finish, which is good. So this week, astrologically, it's going to seem like the Pisces week, and I'll apologise for that now, but there is so much emphasis with so many planetary configurations sitting in Pisces at the moment. It would have been amiss of me as an astrologer not to bring this to everybody's attention. And just because I'm going to be focusing a lot on the Pisces energy and the planetary influences that are sitting there doesn't mean that it doesn't affect the rest of the zodiac. Now, when I do it just prior to the show, I sort of take a snapshot of where the planets are sitting in the heavens at the moment, and I try and bring the most up-to-the-minute forecast in a way that I think will generally fit right across the board. It's not just I'm singling out one particular star sign. When I sort of look at this, I look at how it's going to affect each and every of the 12 star signs. So here we go. The sun's in Pisces. Happy birthday to all the Pisceans. The sun has just entered into Pisces. It's a very magical time of the year. Now, look, some people sort of like to describe Pisces energy as being the dustbin of the zodiac. I don't look at it in that way. I look at the Pisces energy. If you're lucky enough to have a planet in Pisces somewhere in your chart, to me, you've got the wisdom of the previous 11 signs as well as the Piscean energy to draw on. It's like the real plethora of, excitement and wealth of knowledge and wisdom and creativity and illusion and mystical and magical. It's sort of everything all rolled into one. So I don't look at it as the dustbin. I look at it as the most magical part of the zodiac. So the sun has just moved into Pisces. As I said, happy birthday to all the Pisceans. So the sun is conjunct or holding hands Mercury, the planet of communication. Now, when we talk about Mercury, we talk about all forms of communication. It's not just what comes out of our mouth. It's text messages, it's emails, it's, things on social media, any form of communication that you can think of. So at the moment, we're trying to bring it across in a very positive, dynamic, sort of creative sort of way. For those creatives, no matter what your star sign is, you might find that the creative juices are going to start to ramp up and start to flow. So, if you're a music writer or you're a copywriter for social media, which you need to be creative in those areas these days, or a painter or somebody that works with, graphic arts, anything that's considered creative, you're going to find things are going to be a lot easier to be able to communicate, just to make sure the other person is listening. That's sometimes a little bit of a worry when we've got Mercury in Pisces, is that people are sort of wandering off in their own little daydreams, staring out the window and fantasizing how they would like things to be. So yes, it's definitely going to be affecting the water signs, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, the opposite sign of Virgo, but it is going to wash across to all the other 8 signs. So just be aware of that. We all could be in a little bit of a daydream and maybe finding it a little bit difficult to find the words, because, our mind is saying one thing, but our head is sort of raced off in another direction with our heart, sort of like we've got everything focused that we're going to say, but all of a sudden the head and the heart collide, and we're off on a sort of a little magical tour of looking at what might be ahead and fantasizing and imagining what could be ahead if we went this path. So just be aware of that. It might be a little bit hard to concentrate. We also have Saturn, the planet of discipline, sitting in Pisces. Now, this is going to sound a little bit contradictory, because Saturn comes along and he wields a big stick and says, let's be organized, let's be disciplined, let's get a plan of attack. And while everything else is going on in Pisces, it's sort of like Saturn has a hard time corralling the cats, shall we say, he's trying to sort of organize your thoughts, trying to get some discipline there, trying to get a plan of attack, sort of put everything down in a methodical step, and we'll all follow that. We get it all written down and we're ready. We're at step number 1, and then all of a sudden we jump to step number 10. And then we come back to 3. And so, as much as Saturn is trying to bring discipline here, it's going to be a very difficult job, but at least it does bring some sort of structure to even organised chaos. So that's a nice thing to know. Finally, we've got Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion, is sitting in Pisces. Now, Neptune actually rules Pisces, and this is where I think a lot of the creativity comes from, is that Neptune allows us enough flexibility to be able to sort of go out into the ether and have a look around and sort of think, oh, that might be not a bad idea. Maybe we could bring that in. Maybe we could do this. And then we have to apply the practical, the logical of how do we make this happen. And that's where Saturn's coming in. He's reining in Neptune in a little bit, allowing Neptune to do his little dance and come up with all these mystical, amazing, creative ideas. But then Saturn's role is to try and bring some structure and make it all happen. So that's really sort of interesting at the moment. And you've also got to be aware that Neptune in Pisces is also conjunct what's known as the North Node, which is the Moon's node. So this is showing us the way forward. So even though we want to find some creative answers or some solutions to some of our day-to-day issues, we've got to make sure that we're looking into this to be the most positive way that we can move forward. It's really interesting because sometimes we get a great idea and we think, yes, 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 and we go great guns towards manifesting and making that happen. And we get a certain point, we think, hang on a minute, that's not really what I wanted. Or maybe now I could change direction. Maybe I need to go in slightly a different direction to the way that I've been. So this is where the North Node is going to come in. He's going to sort of keep sort of making you stop and sort of saying, is this really where you want to be? Have you achieved everything you wanted to achieve, or do we need to slightly change the boundary or the direction of what you're hoping to achieve? So remain as flexible as possible, no matter what your star sign is. It's a positive time. It's time where things can sort of move really forward, that we can really sort of start to expand things out and sort of start to make some dreams a reality for 2025. We have Mars, the planet of action, is still sitting in Cancer. It has been going retrograde for a while now. We'll be there for another week or so going retrograde before it goes direct. So again, this is affecting the water signs, but it's affecting Cancer more than anything, because it is sitting in Cancer. So Mars doesn't necessarily feel comfortable in Cancer, because Mars is the planet of action, wants to get up, make a loud noise, let's get everything revved up and going, and sort of it's like starting a noisy engine, vroom, vroom, let's go. And Cancer says, now look, let's just calm down, sort of, take our time, be gentle on ourselves, do it in a different sort of way. We don't always have to be bossy and noisy. We can do it in a subtle, gentle, kind, calming way. So it doesn't feel particularly comfortable there. But it has been sort of stirring Cancerians up a fair bit and sort of asking them to get out of their comfort zone a little bit, which is maybe not a bad thing, because sometimes I think they get frozen in fear. They have some great ideas, but they don't necessarily get up off the couch and make them a reality. So while Mars is retrograde here, it's sort of almost like he's poking at that hard shell and saying, can I find a soft spot to sort of move you along or get you motivated? So be aware of that if you're a Cancer. So we have the part of fortune, which is known as an Arabian part, is sitting in Sagittarius at the moment. So for all the Saggies, all the fire signs particularly, but particularly Sagittarius, and we're talking about Aries and Leo and the opposite side of Gemini, it's a time when you really need to beat your own drum. Get out there, tell people how fantastic you are. There could be some amazing opportunities that could start to open up very quickly now. You've been sitting on the sidelines waiting for a long time now, Sagittarius, for things to sort of really start to unfold and move forward. Well, now could be your time to shine. So make sure that if you're going to put your hand up for a promotion or a raise, that you really do deserve it. It's not just because you want it, that you've really worked hard towards it. There's opportunities that are coming. Make sure that you listen to your instincts and your intuition. Some people might be finding that they get great spurts of energy and they go great gusto, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm tired, I need to sit down for a minute. Well, then make sure that you honour that. The only way you can have another go spurt is to rest up and, regroup and allow your thoughts and everything to settle, as well as the muscles in your arms and your legs, and then go again. Finally, we've got Jupiter in Gemini has finally gone direct. So that just sort of means that Jupiter is now starting to sort of move things along, particularly for air signs. It's a really good time when you can start to expand your horizons, start to put some of your dreams into reality. We're talking about Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, the opposite sign of Sagittarius as well. So it's a time now that of great action and moving things forward. We're going to take our first call, which is Tammy in Toronto and in Ontario in Canada. Are you there, Tammy?
I'm here.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, Tammy?
Not really. I was just wondering if there was any messages for me.
Okay. They don't always sort of just come through just because we want a message from the other side. It's sort of, sometimes they're just happy to let us plot our way through. But what I can do is go into your soul and see if there's anything there that's jumping out at me that I can share with you. And the first thing that's coming through is the fact that there is a number of changes coming up in your life. So what I'm also being shown from about August last year, you seem to be slowly, diligently working towards trying to sort of two major areas out in your life. And I think they took longer than what you were expecting. Is that right? Are you still sort of working on the final pieces of those?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, they're showing me sort of like you've still got to be patient. It will happen, but they're sort of showing me that, by about March, it's like we get that final push to get this across the line, and then we can sit back and go, oh, thank goodness for that. It was, it took longer and more effort than what I thought, but I'm pleased with the result. So the most important thing I think you need to do, Tammy, is really not question too much. You've made the hard decisions. It's now a matter of letting everything unfold in its own natural time and be ready to act when you get the urge. And if you get the urge to sit on the couch and watch a movie, then do that. You know what I mean? You've just got to start listening to the guidance that is coming through from the other side. But it's not coming through with a label on it saying, oh, it's Uncle Henry or it's Auntie Mary. It's just coming automatically. And it's like they want you to sort of just incorporate this as part of your natural day-to-day life and not question whether it's your intuition, whether it's a direct message from the other side, or where did the message come from, just to work with it. Sometimes we block the energies and the messages ourselves because we question. We want to know where it came from. Can I trust it? Is it right? Is it my imagination? Is it this? Is it that? Stop questioning all those things. Just work with it. If it feels strong and it's driving you nuts, then put it into practice. If it's just something that's just come into your mind and you think, oh, that's nice, wait for a bit more confirmation. Wait for it to sort of build its own momentum. It might just be a passing thought. It may not be something that we need to act on, but you'll know the difference, because if it's something you're meant to act on, it will drive you nuts. It will become so strong that you've got to do something about it. Where if it's just a passing thought, it's like sort of driving past a street sign, oh, yes, Smith Street, and you're on to the next one of Jones. You don't sort of retain that. You don't go back and say, oh, gee, what did Smith Street mean? It was just something that passed as you drove past. So you've got to look at it in that way. You're a very intuitive woman, and it's time now for you to allow that psychic ability or that connection from the other side, which are one in the same, to start to sort of really sort of develop and become natural, to become automatic, like brushing your teeth. So you've started to do that, and then you pull yourself up and you think, oh, well, hang on a minute, where did that come from? Let's not keep questioning it in that way. So I hope that's helped you, Tammy.
Yes, that's exactly right on.
Wonderful. Well, that's where we're going to leave it, Tammy. I wish you well, but I know that your intuition is strengthening day by day, and just allow it to sort of develop and to become natural to you, and it will become stronger. So we're going to talk with Aquanonda in Atlanta, in Georgia. I know I've pronounced it wrong, and I do apologise. Can I help you with,
That's
with a
okay.
question? Do you have a question I can answer for you, sweetie?
Well, tomorrow is my birthday, and New
happy
Year,
birthday.
new season. Thank you.
Well, happy birthday, and I'm sure you're enjoying sort of being a Pisces, are you?
Yes.
Well, that's good. So tomorrow's your birthday. So what's your question, birthday girl?
I don't know. I guess about my life in general.
Okay. All right, your life in general. Well, really, really interesting. Again, they're sort of showing me that there's been a lot of change. So obviously in this last 12 to 18 months, you've been slowly and deliberately sort of working on yourself, but you haven't sort of put it down as it's been a chore. It's been something that, you know, you've gone at your own pace, and, you know, you've had a few laughs along the way, and then you get serious again. And I've got to get back to work. I've got to get back to working on myself. And that's okay. There doesn't have to be constantly sort of full on. You know, we've had a lot of planetary configurations sitting in Pisces now for quite some time. And I think it's really been an opportunity for Pisces to shine, in my opinion, because I have lots of Piscean friends and family, and I've really noticed everybody sort of growing and really shining. And I think you've been shining in your own way too, but you don't sort of necessarily notice that. You just sort of think it's not just another day I've, you know, given somebody a hand, or I've sat there and listened to their problems. No big deal. I do that anyway. You know, you're not giving yourself, I think, enough credit for what you've actually achieved in this last couple of years. And moving forward, you know, from tomorrow onwards being your birthday, which is the start of a whole brand new 12 months for you, which is amazing. It's going to be more about not so much being selfish, but allowing yourself the time to do the things that you enjoy. You know, it's sort of like, okay, I'm going to roster myself off from life, and I'm going to go and do this because I want to, you know, not because I have to. And that's the important theme for the next 12 months, is allowing yourself the luxury of being able to sort of do some of the things that you never allow yourself to do or never schedule enough time to do, and not feeling guilty about it. And I think that's really important. Is there sort of a question mark in your mind about whether or not to sort of make some changes to where you're living or potentially move?
You said move?
Yeah, they were showing me. I wasn't sure whether they meant you wanted to redecorate somewhere or whether you wanted to move. It was sort of like both were being posed to me.
Well, it's a new relationship.
Right.
And
could that bring about a change?
I hope so.
Oh, good. Okay. So, okay, with this new relationship, they were showing me timeline of around June or July. So could we be anticipating maybe a decision of the two of you moving in together then?
Yes, I hope so.
So is that going to constitute him coming to you, or the two of you going and finding something new, or going to his place?
He's probably a little more stable than I am.
Right. So you're anticipating maybe moving in with him then?
Yes.
Yeah. Look, I think there's going to be a lot of discussions, and I think that's why they showed it to me, as in whether we were going to reorganise where you were living or were we going to move. It was sort of like the two came out sort of like level pegging to me, and I thought, well, this is a really strange way to describe it. Like if you're thinking of renovating or moving furniture around, you don't normally then think of, oh, good, I might move. You know what I mean? You usually make up your mind one way or the other. But with this situation, with the new relationship and things getting serious, and the potential of the two of you becoming lifelong partners, which I think is more than a potential. Yes, that would make sense. Like this, you sit down and you talk about it, and he sort of says, well, yes, I could move in here, but the negatives on that side is it's too small, or it's too this, or it's too that. But if you were to come to me, we'd have X, Y, Z, and this, we can change anything that you like, and we can make it our own. And there's a lot of things up for discussion. So I'm not sure whether you're moving in June or whether the conversation comes up in June and then sort of its action stations in July. But it was June, July was when they were showing me that this decision or choices or discussions were coming up. But look, I think this relationship you're in is absolutely wonderful. I can't fault him in any way. I'm sure
Oh,
I've got
wow.
somewhere. It's just every time I look at it, I just keep getting pink hearts. And usually when they show me pink hearts from the other side, and it's like, a succession of the little emojis going across my screen, that's how they're showing it to me in my mind's eye. Nothing could be more perfect, like everybody's happy. Everybody from the other side has waited with bated breath, and now they're ready to sort of set the hearts on fire, that everybody's excited for you both. And that's good, because I think that the two of you went through a lot before you met each other. Your lives were never what you'd call easy. And now it's nice that you've found each other, and you can take solace in that and sort of sit back and laugh and just breathe easy and just know that there isn't anything that's going to derail this relationship, because you've waited a long time for each other, and you've got different strengths and different sort of patience now than you would have had you met in your 20s. And I think that's the important thing. Had you met in your early 20s, I think it would have been too powerful a connection that you both might have destroyed it, because you weren't ready for the power of love, so to speak.
Yes.
But he's lovely. There isn't anything he wouldn't do for you.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, but it's well deserved, though, isn't it? I mean, it's really well deserved. I mean, he puts a smile on your face even by him just being in the room, and that's lovely.
He does, and we're just in two different states, and he works a lot, I work a lot, and I wonder how I always wonder how it would come together, because we've moved so fast. It was just like natural.
Yeah, but that's when you know it's right. I mean, like people sort of say to me, how do I know I'm in love? Well, you just know. I don't say to people you should make a decision to marry somebody after a week, but I honestly believe in that first 48 hours on a soul level, if you could spend the rest of your life with that person. I'm not saying it's the time you should make that final decision, but you just know. And then if everything moves very quickly after that, well, it's because it's meant to. You've obviously done this dance before in other lifetimes, and all you're doing is picking up where you left off. And, this time, you're both working very hard. You've got limited time to be able to see each other. You're living in different locations, but look at how strong the relationship is. Imagine how quickly it would have gone if you'd lived around the corner from each other. You probably would have been living together within the first month. You know what I mean? Because it would have just been so natural. And someone else would look at it and say, oh, no, that's far too soon. Well, go take a cold shower. Well, my answer to them, it's none of their business, because, there's no timetable for how quickly or how slowly love should move. It's how the couple feel about it and how they see it. And, the two of you have covered so much ground as far as connecting in a relationship. It's like it's ridiculous that you're apart. You should be together. That's what I'm saying. It's harder to be apart and live in different locations than it would be to be together and be busy and still have, busy lives, but at least you'd have each other to come home to at the end of the day. And that's the important thing. And that's what's going to happen. And it's going to be he'll be the one to bring it up, and he'll just sort of bring it up in a very matter-of-fact way and sort of say, I can't do this anymore. This is ridiculous. We've got to make a decision. And you think about what? He hasn't said about what. And he's very firm and very serious about it all. And you think, oh, geez, he's calling the relationship off. No, he's just put his headmaster's voice on and says, this is enough of this nonsense. We're going to make a decision and we're going to do it today. And, this is what I think. And how do you feel about that? And it's like, oh, well, what a relief. He wants us to move in together, which is wonderful. But he's just such a nice man. And I don't, there's nothing there that I could see that could go wrong. I mean, I wish it was sooner than that. Like it may just be that, you're both too busy until then for it to be coming up as a conversation. Or maybe he's trying to be, sensible and sort of it's got to be a certain amount of time on the calendar before it's acceptable. I don't think there needs to be any of that. It's when it feels right to you two. So I wish you well.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have a beautiful relationship and have a very, very happy birthday tomorrow for your 21st again, which is nice to be 21.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
Lovely to talk
Thank
to you.
you.
Okay. It's always nice when we get some happy news on the show, when people are falling in love and making decisions, and it's an exciting time. And, it's always something to me that, love is a universal energy. It goes right across the board. It doesn't matter who you are or how old you are or how young you are. It doesn't stop that beautiful feeling of falling in love. It always mystifies me how that before the show that I do the astrology report and I pick a song of the week that might have been something that's been driving me nuts or I've been listening to, or sometimes I just like this. Today before the show I just went through my song list and I look at what jumps out at me, and interestingly enough the song that jumped out at me this week was from the movie Dirty Dancing, having the time of my life. Now, isn't that so appropriate for our last caller? She is having the time of her life. It is her birthday. And it just goes to show you that love comes from anywhere. So enjoy the clip from Dirty Dancing, Time of My Life by Sabi Iba. And it's a beautiful song. It's a timeless song. And it's one of those movies that you can watch over and over and over again. And it always makes you smile. And I think, Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey just really were the perfect people to perform in that movie and do that final dance, Dirty Dancing, the time of my life. Until next week, enjoy the movie. Bye for now.